Republicans continue to hold Anthony Fauci's feet to the fire over his failed COVID response and other questionable actions at the NIH. One America's John Hines spoke with the president of Judicial Watch and has more from Washington.
Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, you have filed a Freedom of Information lawsuit, not a request, but a lawsuit, against the Department of Health and Human Services for Dr. Anthony Fauci's calendars and calendar entries, including notes and names of invitees during the period of November 2019 and March 2020. Why is that period of particular interest, and why query for his calendar items?
Well, we asked for it under the Freedom of Information Act. We filed the request along with our friends at openthebooks.com to get basic information about what Fauci was up to during that key period when COVID first emerged onto the scene. We want to know who he was meeting with, and one way to figure that out, other than relying on press statements that are never really forthcoming from his agency, the way to find that out is by asking directly for his calendars. They're supposed to be turned over to us under the FOIA law. They've ignored the law, and that's why we're in federal court.
We don't have up-to-date information about his salary, his employment contract, any confidentiality agreements, conflict of interest, and financial disclosures, job description, or royalties.
No, we need more information on that. Some of the records that are released may reflect on some of that, but we don't have the latest material, that's for sure.
Aren't civil servants required to disclose this kind of information? Senior executive service, members of the senior executive service?
That's a different question as to what, as opposed to what records are available or should be available to the public. We asked for the records under law for a client. We've been denied them, so we're litigating it right now.
What makes you doubt his veracity, for instance?
Oh, it's not a question of doubting his veracity. I mean, there's many reasons to doubt his veracity on a whole host of issues. In this case, it's just getting the documents. You know, people aren't going to necessarily remember who they met with 2 years ago. So we'll refresh his recollection and give new information to the American people by getting calendars and other information about who he was meeting with. And separately, we have lawsuits, as I said, about his knowledge about COVID and China and gain of function.
Well, you
research,
actually uncovered emails, right? Emails of him and the NIH communicating with this EcoHealth Alliance about gain of function research. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have an email that was sent to him from his deputies attaching the gain of function research application. When you read it, it's pretty clear it's gain of function research. The email's heavily redacted. And that's one of the other dirty little secrets here in Washington, D.C., or at least it's not a secret to us because the federal government told us in court that one of the reasons it's taking a long time for us to get documents from the agency is because Fauci and his team are personally reviewing each and every document to make sure that nothing improper is released publicly. I've never seen anything like that.
So, Tom Fitton, is it because Judicial Watch uncovered some of these emails and communications from Dr. Fauci with EcoHealth Alliance regarding gain of function, suggesting that he was misrepresenting knowledge of gain of function? Is that the reason perhaps you lack confidence in him and that you want to know more, for instance, his calendar?
Well, let me be clear. Given what we found about the agency funding of gain of function, and the shell games have been going on generally, both with his testimony and with documents. And the admission by his agency that it obviously was gain of function research, at least part of what was going on. There needs to be a criminal investigation into his agency's funding of research in China. We need prosecutors to figure out if anything untoward was done in terms of violation of law.
So I just want to make sure that we heard you correctly, Mr. Fitton. You are calling for a criminal investigation into Dr. Fauci and his involvement in this gain of function research at the Wuhan laboratory. Is that correct?
I want the whole issue investigated by, I guess the Justice Department's the only one that can do it in terms of prosecutions. How the agency spent its money and the recipients of that money. Did they misuse government money promising not to do gain of function when in fact they ended up doing it? All those questions need to be answered.
Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, thank you for talking to us on One American News, sir. It's good to catch up with you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you, John.
Want to see more videos like this? Visit OANN.com for immediate access to all the clips you've been waiting to see.